Hello and welcome to this first look exploring session, our continuing adventure looking at the True Trojans by Jasper Fisher, I believe. This is a session, second session going from Act 3, Scene 6. We're about halfway through the play, we're over halfway through the play, and so far Caesar's had a go. He's had a go to invade and been beaten back. And he's going to regroup, and the great British warrior, or Britain warrior, I don't know which part of the Isles he actually came from, Nennius has just died. It's all very, very tragic and sad. We've got far too many parts for the number of readers, but we can just about get through it. So reading today, Rollano, Cridous, there is Chorus, Volusene, and Lantonus is...
Rachael, Nicole, actor on the East Coast.
Reading Cassibelanus, Mandubratius, a chorus, and Camillus is...
Hi, I'm Greg. I'm not sure what to make of this one yet.
Sorry, Camillus, rather. I got that right earlier, and then I got it wrong when we pressed record. Reading all the Bards, Androgeus, also chorus, and Belinus is...
Hi, I'm Eric, and I will be all the Bards. Yay, I'm reading.
And reading Eulinus, Britael, Tenantius, Atrius, Hulacus, and Brennus today is...
Hi, I'm Steve.
Here's all the parts. And I'm your host, Robert Crighton. I will also be reading parts as well as stage directions. So very crowded today. I'll be reading Hiraldas, Guerthed, Caesar, Comius, and Mercury. So busy old times, as well as filling in for another part in one scene as well. But without further ado, we're going to crack on with the action. Act 3, Scene 6, Eulinus and Hiraldas enter.
A mind content? Oh, 'tis a mind of pearl, a mint of golden thoughts, a heaven on earth, when eager longers meet full but their scope, and hopes are actuated beyond hope. So Jason joyed, the golden fleece obtained. So Hercules joyed, the golden fruit being gained. So Venus joyed, the golden ball to hold. So Midas joyed, when he turned all to gold. So, and much more rejoiced the Phrygian swain, when he conveyed the fairest, except mine, which e'er did ever kiss. His brazen keel, proud of her burden, sliced the capering brine. The Tritons blew their horns, and sea gods dance. Before, behind, about his ship they prance. The mermaids skip on high, but to compare their dangling tresses with her silken hair, these were but shadows of my bliss. A robe of pure beatitude wraps me round about, without a speck or blemish, nor can invention wish more unto me than I have. Landora, I'm rich, free, learned, honoured, all in this. Who dares conceive against the female sex but one base thought? Lo, here I stand, their champion, and will maintain he is a beast, a devil, begot between a bitch wolf and an incubus. Women, all good, all perfect, and all gracious. Men, making creatures, angels clad in flesh. Let me adore your name.
And let me speak why Landora loves you not, but me in you.
But I in you enjoy Landora's love.
But she enjoys not your love, cause unknown.
No matter. I in you, or you in me, so that I still possess my dearest dear. A paltry fancy last night in her bed turmoiled my thoughts, which since I shaped in rhymes, thus.
Prithee, let's hear. I know thou art turned poet.
Night having drawn the curtain down, I lie. By one for worse, Atrius left the sky. Slumbering at last, for love can hardly sleep. Straightways I dreamed, for love doth revels keep. A damsel fair, and fashioned for delight, our day-born objects do return at night, with flowery chaplet and red velvet gown, which from her breast was fastened along down, with rich enamelled locks, all which one key, whose bright gold bout her silver neck did play, could open and divorce. A veil most fair, such whiteness only Paphian doves do wear, with false light did her beauteous front improve. From this arch Cupid shot his darts of love. With gentle strain she took me by the hand, touches in love do more than tongues command, then leads me with an amorous smile along. It's easily led whom beauty draws, more strong than cable ropes. An altar we descry, where incense frank and amber fumes did fly in little rolling curls. A reverend priest with snowy beard waving upon his breast, there kneeling did his eyes in sorrow steep, whose passionate cry made me, though ignorant, weep. Flagthorn's hot breath no sooner licks up dew than joy had dried these tears. For lo, I view a circular room, all built with marble clear, the title, Nature's Storehouse. Most strange here it seemed, I know not how we came, nor whence, nor any passage saw to get from thence, but oh, the rich delight and glorious fire which dazzled me. No heart can more desire. Here first my guide oped her spice-breathing door. Ask what thou wilt, this is the ark of store. No vows are here reposed, she said, but I, surprised with extreme joy and ecstasy, by chance a scorpion's tail behind her spied. Pity such beauty, such a monster hide, trembling yet silent, doubtful what to crave. Lo, with a stink and fearful screech, this brave and glorious dame doth vanish, and a dart, which still I quake at, struck me to the heart. But waking I revived, and found in bed such sovereign balm would cure old Elias' death.
Your tedious dream hath made me drowsy. But hark, we must attend the funeral pomp. We transfer to Act 3, Scene 7. The funeral passes over the stage. Nennius' scutcheon, armour, Caesar's sword, borne, torches, and mourners.
Set down that heavy load with heavier hearts. Could virtuous valour, honourable thought, a noble scorn of fortune, pride, and death, myriads of vows and prayers sent to heaven, could country's love or Britain's genius save a mortal man from sleeping in his grave, then hadst thou lived, great Nennius, and outlived the smooth-tongued Greek. But we may more envy and less bewail thy loss, since thou didst fall on honour's lofty field bed, on which stage never did worthy act a statelier part, nor durst pale death approach with cypress sad, till flourishing bays thy conquering temples clad.
And now we have a funeral elegy sung to the harp. We don't know who says it. I'm going to say the Bards say it. Eric, take it away. It could be Cassibelanus, but I don't know that it is.
Turnus may conceal his name, Nennius had Aeneas' fame, Hannibal led Afric's mother, Nennius was great Scipio's brother, Greece forbear Achilles' story, Nennius had brave Hector's glory. Thrush and nightingale, be dumb, sorrowful songs be fit a tune. Turn ye marble stones to water, Isis nymphs forbear all laughter, sigh and sob upon your bed, Belly's noble son is dead.
A banquet served over the stage. Rollano, with a leg of a capon and a tankard of wine, speaks.
I like such slaughtering well of birds and beasts, which wear no swords, nor shake a fatal pike, when hogsheads bleed and oxen mangled lie. Oh, what a world of victuals is prepared for sacrifice and feasting. 40,000 fat bullocks, then the parks and forests send, full 30,000 wild beasts, armed with horns and dangerous teeth. The main battalion consists of sheep, 100,000 fat. The wings are both supplied with birds and fowls, sans number, and some fish for succors serve a goodly army. Troy Novant doth smoke, and smells all like a kitchen. The king, princes, and nobles of the land a triumph hold. Music and songs, good cheer and wine and songs, and music and good cheer, high, brave. No more shall barley broth pollute my throat, but nectar, nectar of the grape's sweet blood. Come, heavenly potion, wine, whose gentle warmth softens the brain, unlocks the silent tongue, wit's midwife, and our spirit's vestal priest, keeping alive the natural heat, a health to make short work to all the world, so will it sure go round.
Steals behind. Enter triumphs. There's Cassibelanus, 4 kings of Kent, 3 kings, Cridous, Britael, Guerthed, and then there's Androgeus, Tenantius, Hiraldas, Eulinus. Everybody, all the Britons enter and take places.
Sorrow must doff her sable weeds, and joy furbish the court with fresh and verdant colours. Else should we seem ungrateful to the gods. Triumphs must thrust our obsequies, and tilt with tourney and our ancient sport called Troy. Such as Iolaus bout his grandsire's tomb did represent, and at each temple's porch games, songs, and holy murdering of beasts.
They sit down. A dancing mask of 6 enters, and then the epinicion sung by 2 bards.
Roman eagle threatening woe, the sea did shadow with her wing, but Argus quill did prick her so, that from the clouds they down did her bring. Sing then, ye hills and dales, so clear, that Iopaean may all hear. They may us call isles fortunate, they sought for life here, nor not for fame. All yield to them, they to our state. The world knows but our double name. Sing then, ye streams and woods, so clear, that Iopaean all may hear.
Androgeus and Tenantius play at foils. Then Hiraldas and Eulinus play.
It was foully played.
You lie, 'twas fairly hit.
I'll give acquittance.
Do your worst, vain braggart. And we take our swords and we fight, and Hiraldas is slain. Oh, I am slain.
Hold, my nephew slain before my face. Life shall be paid with life.
He shall not die.
Shall not. Your king and your uncle says he shall.
No kingly menace or censorious frown do I regard. Tanti for all your power. But The compunction of my guilt doth send a shuddering chillness through my veins inflamed. Why do ye stare, ye grisly powers of night? There his soul goes. I must follow him.
Offers to kill himself is hindered.
He was provoked in defense, and being my kinsman, shall be judged by laws of Troynovant. Such custom claims our court.
No custom shall bar justice. I command that he appear before us.
Trials are vain when passion sits as judge.
I'll soon rebate this insolent disdain.
Exeunt Androgeus, Tenantius, and Eulinus.
Let not this dismal chance deface our joy, most royal friends.
War being silenced, and envy's rage, and hell fast fettered, sound we now retreat, that soldiers may regreet their household gods, their children cling about their armed thighs.
And place their trophies about their smoky halls. There hang a gauntlet bright, here a stabbed buckler. Pile up long pikes, and in that corner plant a weighty sword brandished by some centurion. Not he who ne'er on snaky perils trod, but happy he who hath them stoutly passed. For danger's source gives joy a better taste.
Great monarch, if thy summons call us back, we tender here our service, men and arms, as duty bids and binds.
Should he return, our province dares him front. So a most kind adieu unto all three.
Exeunt Cridous, Britael, and Guerthed.
Cingetorix, Carvidius, Taximarganus, Seganax, I know your faithful love. Kent's fourfold head will check rash rebels, and as firmly stand as hearty oaks, who bear off Iolus's blows with a whistle, but deride his force.
Exeunt 4 kings of Kent.
Burst, gowl, and dye my actions in flame colour. I saw Hiraldas fall and breathe his soul even in my face, as though hell watched time to crush our pomp and glory into sighs. The conduits of his vital spring being ripped, spurtled my robe, soliciting revenge. Belinus, attach the murderer, and if abettors deny obedience, then with sword and fire waste their dominions. For a traitor's sake, whole towns shall tremble, and the ground shall quake.
Exeunt. I'm going to pause there. I wasn't going to, but this is such an interesting scene. And such an interesting sort of pivot in the action. So we have a funeral. The funeral seems deliberately to transfer from grief into a celebration of, where, hey, we're still all alive. And then these people, there's some kind of sporting prowess is being demonstrated here with the sword fighting, and because of this weird relationship that we'll discuss in a moment between these two chaps, that it ends in murder. And it's a really interesting sense of, we're going from a position of triumph from the British camp to this thing that creates dissension and among the ranks. And of course, I assume that's going to be used by Caesar when he returns. But there's something really interesting going there, and actually almost justifies some of the stuff that's been going on with the subplot, but not quite. Eric, were you waving? Who wants to jump in?
Yeah, I was just going to say that this is a bit reminiscent of ancient Greece. I don't know if they did this in Rome, but I mean, traditionally in a lot of the myth, they would have like sort of funereal games when some hero died or something. So maybe this is sort of a mixture of that. And also the theology is all over the place. But anyway, let's not talk about that.
Let's not worry about the theology. But yeah, but following on from that scene, which is between Eulinus and the now dead Hiraldas, it's quite a problematic scene for me. I'm not quite sure whether the boast of what they're talking about is something that has actually happened, in which case that's really bad, or if it's more about intention and expectation of the beg trick that they were working. Has the beg trick actually happened? And that's what he's describing, or is this just simply his sexual fantasies? Because, there's something really quite awful potentially happening in the scene that we were playing actually quite light from last time. What was going on in the scene with Eulinus and Hiraldas? Because it's sort of important, because it sort of sets up the murdery action that happens in the next scene. If there's a sort of subtext going on that they have this awkward relationship that may have some jealousy in it going on, even though it's not really played very far.
It's difficult to get the tone of the dream because we've sort of been doing them as an idiot.
I'm not really getting you, Stephen. Say again.
The tone of the dream is really difficult to pass. I got the idea that the bed trick had happened and he'd had the dream in her bed.
Hmm.
And all this, and there didn't seem to be any jealousy from his point, because Hiraldas says to him, she doesn't actually love you. She loves me and you, and he goes, oh, it doesn't matter really, I and you and me. As long as I've got into a bed, it don't matter. So the sword fight thing seems kind of really random.
Unless Hiraldas has just been really getting under your skin by going, well, she really likes me, really. And that's sort of thing. But, just to be clear, that what we're describing here is a crime. After the fact, I know that's not how the original audience, I'm sure, saw it that way. But just to make it clear what's going on here in terms of action, it does seem to be after the fact. I'm just putting it out there. There's this whole subplot, apart from them dying, or one of them dying, is the element of the play that I'm seriously just quietly removing from the script in a production. I'm really not keen on it at all. A, tonally, and B, obviously that thing. I'll go to Rachael, then Eric.
I mean, we don't know how it ends yet, but if it's this weird other plot, I mean, because yesterday I don't think we had a lot of time to talk about, because there's so much of this text that if you wanted to focus it more and you just needed it shorter for people to sit in and watch it play, because what is the how long is this? This is like I guess two sessions together. It's like 3 hours or 3 hours and 30 minutes.
No, it's not. It's nowhere near as long as that. We are doing more text in 2 sessions than we normally would, but it's it's over 2 hours probably. But it depends on how long the rituals last, and that we don't. You never know precisely how long it's going to last. This feels one that runs long, so it could get up to 3 hours if you let it. But it's only a 2 sessioner in that sense. Whereas 2.5 to 3 hours is what we normally say for a 3 session play. Eric, and then Stephen, and then we'll move on, because we actually don't have a vast amount of time to discuss.
I'm just intrigued by why they suddenly, sort of, Hiraldas and Eulinus also play at foils, which I'm guessing is basically a blunted sword or something, or literally like foils, in fencing. And then they kind of just switch to swords, kind of going, yeah, no, fuck this shit. I'm gonna kill you. And then it's like, it just feels very abrupt.
Yeah, it feels like they've had an argument. He's lost his temper, and they really go for each other. And it's not wholly intended. But they go for swords rather than something less harmful. Stephen.
Well, that was what I was going to say. Really, it just sort of does a 180, doesn't it? And then Eulinus, who's been doing all this sort of terrible love poetry, he then sort of dives off into sort of kid type language, doesn't he? With sort of veins and grisly powers and souls flying. So he then becomes that kind of guilty revenger type figure, but it just comes from absolutely nowhere, unless it is a respectable ancient Greek thing to just make one mistake and then your life is totally screwed. And the whole world of horror is opened up to you, which I recall does happen a bit in Greek tragedy.
Yeah, and to be fair, he has just killed his mate. So there's bad things going on there. It's just very contracted in time. Rachael, then Greg.
I wonder if this is supposed to be some sort of tonal shift that we'll see as we continue with the play. Because I do think they were supposed to be comedic, characters at the least, or if we've had a clown death with Hiraldas. Yeah.
Yeah, it feels like the cables, or the broken string or whatever it is in Cherry Orchard moment in the background. This is something that jars everything and changes it, but it's a tiny thing, actually, and in the grand scheme of this play of lots of death is going on everywhere, but this is within the hearth and home of these people. They're feasting, they're happy. And then suddenly someone dies, and he shouldn't have died, and it's so pointless. Greg?
No, it feels like the funeral's sort of left hanging, which feels really tonally wrong, that you just don't... It suddenly goes off about them sending them off to war, and I thought, well, there's got to be a line somewhere that just says, bear the body hence, or something. It just feels like Nennius's body is just left there. Whatever his name was. No, it was just very strange. It just felt really like somebody forgot to write the last bit of the scene.
I think there's also a lot of stage business potentially here. This is could be a very complex scene. We got mask, you got dancing and sword fights. Drunk people. I really like Rollano, by the way. Rollano, rather. His stuff about it's good spread. Basically. He's one of these people who just turns up at funerals and eats the sandwiches. He's and also just when he was talking about he's had enough beer, he's keen on wine, and I'm suddenly going, is that a sort of Britain-Roman thing? Is that sort of what he's trying to do? Rome being perhaps more associated with wine production than even though beer is probably not exactly a likely. Anyway, I'm drifting. Let's read on. Act 3, Scene 8. And the people who stormed out of the scene earlier re-enter with a friend, Androgeus, Tenantius, and Mandubratius.
Shall justice and just Libra ne'er forsake the embroidered belt? No sign of them on earth? Are gods dim-sighted grown, or do they sleep the morning and carouse the afternoon, that mortal motions tumble thus by chance? Cleave, thou blue marble ceiling, that heaven's king with clear aim may strike a tyrant's crown, nor spend his brimstone bullets against some hill or innocent pine.
Your injuries run low, mine break all bounds. My father butchered at his lawless will. I, banished from my lands, deposed from rule, owing my life to night and flight.
I do confess you may complain aloud, and tear the element with a dolorous note. Call down Astrea from her crystal chair, or call up Nemesis from the direful deep to expiate your wrongs. Else, with the manes of your father slain, in a white sheet come sliding to your bed and be revenged on you. He gave you life. How can you better spend it than to wreak his death and slaughter? But our case and cause, brother, is not the same. Eulinus slew his innocent friend, and we defend the fact. with hostile noise drowning law's reverend voice. When murder outcries both, give me then leave to be a neutral. My young years, unfit for any desperate cause, can but complain the king our uncle doth not use us well.
And exit Tenantius there.
Usurpers use this method still. At first, he as protector silly got the stern during our nonage. Then the Comius voice bought with the fawning brow and popular grace confirms his regiment. We appointed sharers with empty titles to beguile our thoughts, like puppet lords dressed up with crown and scarf, glad that we live and hunt and reign o'er brutes. Our uncle is the king who, when he saw his throne established and his foes repulsed, grown big with prosperous fortune, proudly spurns all fear of God or man.
His anger, nursed by jealousies, must feed on princes' flesh who lose both state and life if they but look awry. A tyrant's growth reared up by ruins thus may learn his fall, for whom all fear he justly feareth all.
In antiphons thus tune we female plaints, but plots and force beseem us. Thus great Caesar shall pull him down below us. Thou, Mandubratius, sure pledges take of our revolt, and quickly implore his aid, and blow up his drooping fire with hopeful terms. But let him stronger come.
I fly and seem as charmers in a mist. Grateful revenge, whose sharp sweet relish fats my apprehensive soul. Though all were paired off which doth accrue from fortune, and a man left as barely poor as nature thrust him out. Nay, worse, the spirits boil. Rage, anger, care, and grief like wild horse tear the affrighted mind. Though wrongs it sought excoriate their heart, yet all is sweetened if vengeance have her course. I reck not how. Let commonwealth expire, and ours proclaim sad desolation in our halls. Let heaps of dust and rubbish epitaph our towns. Let fire and water fight, who first shall spoil this universal frame. From north or south, revenge the hour to welcome. No sin worse than pity. A tyrant's only physic is phlebotomy.
And exeunt. Act 3, Scene 9. We have a chorus, and the first song by Rachael.
Rejoice, O Britain, Britain, O rejoice. The stormy cloud passed o'er, and only made a noise. A clattering sound was heard, and still we felt no wound. Rejoice, rejoice, thou happy Britain's ground. Oh, that sweet plenty days, eloquent o'er, were now to chant our victories with a melodious tone, and rousing echo from the dales with harmony to sound. Rejoice, rejoice, thou happy Britain's ground.
And the second song by Eric. Again, have fun.
Gang ye lads and lasses, so imble and so white, you'll mickle teen betide ye if ye lig in this plight. Be bonny, buxom, jolly, trepidix belive, and gif net gars the welkin mark, Tom Piper do you blithe, hid their egg and shitter, with spice so crammed, so that underneath still like borrows may well you need nay stand. As leafed as life do weet it, when timbrance give sound, for harvest gill pranked up in late, loud it low around.
And thus closes the act, and we go from a chorus, which is "Rejoice, O Britain, Britain, O rejoice." That took a long time to write as a lyric. To what the hell is that? This is where I really wish Angela was with us today, because be able to give us some, because it feels like that's just being thrown in from something. It just feels awfully random. Skipping over the actual closing songs, which I still haven't quite got to grips with in this play. Yes, we effectively had a hanging on scene there at the end of the act, where various parties who are not very happy with the current regime are all going, well, maybe if we throw our lot in with the Romans, we will come out higher than the people who will get supplanted. So, dissension, and it's all from one tiny little incident, from a little acorn to this terrible, terrible thing. Any additional thoughts anyone wants to briefly throw in before we dive into Act 4? Because I do want to crack on. But additional thoughts are not discouraged. Eric?
It's just like the song. Well, one of them is written in this like beautiful language, and then the other one is sort of like "Gang lads and lasses, so wimble and so wide." So it felt appropriate to go more pedestrian on that one. I don't know. Maybe that's just. And also, I don't know what half the words mean.
It's like it's suddenly trying to be Lydgate or something. It's suddenly very medieval. It's full of words that we've been playing with in medieval plays. Stephen?
I think Rachael was before me.
Oh, right, Rachael.
No, I wish Angela was here to say something about this, because it does feel like this is very ballady, and it's right up. I mean, this is definitely right up her alley. I think this is a dancing song. It's supposed to be, an everyman song more than I think both parts of this song, that. Towards the end of even what I was saying, I think there might be more of an accent on that than that I was giving it, and then you just get maybe somebody dropped it completely. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know what I'm saying. I think there's some accent. It's meant to be more of a country dance song.
Oh yeah,
for everybody to get up and yeah.
And it also has a sort of go to the bar, this is the interval, go to the bar feel to it as well. Let's all go to the lobby and get ourselves some snacks. Stephen?
Well, kind of Rachel's made the point, really. I think in terms of the language, what it looks like is we've got something courtly and something country. And I don't know much about early modern dancing, but the one thing I do know is that there's a sort of leaping and jigging and excitable, bouncy, uppy down, moshy stuff, which is country, like kind of Morris dancing sort of thing. And then the courtly stuff, the heels hardly leave the ground, and it's all very measured and sort of Jane Austen-y. So I don't know if we've got we've got sort of Britannia doing the first one in a very kind of courtly, restrained, formal, genteel fashion. And the second one is more of a jig, really. What it's doing in the play, I'm still trying to work out, because this is like these are the Britons who aren't the chieftains, I guess, and they're kind of like there's this continuity of the like 2,000 years of people jumping up and down and wanting to drink, and maybe that's the point of it. I don't know, but it's if you put court and country together, you get a nation, perhaps.
Oh, I like that. Okay. Let's go through Act 4. Act 4 is relatively brief, so we're going to let the scenes rattle into each other. Act 4, Scene 1, and you get me doing some acting again. Heaven help us all. Caesar, Volusenus, and attendants. A story, is't, or fable that stern Mars thy weight did Romulus' sleepy mother press, since we thy brood degenerous stand at gaze, charmed in the circle of a foaming flood, and trail our dastard pikes. Burst Janus' prison, roar as thou didst at Troy, drown Stentor's voice by many eighths, which Pindus may rebeat, which Caucus may as a catch repeat, and Taurus, lo, the same, that pygmies small may squeak, it thunders and dive into burrows. Let the four winds with dreadful clamours sing thy anger through the affrighted world. What Lemnian chain shackles our mounting eagle? The moon's round concave is too strait a cage for her advanced pinions. At which point enter Mandubratius, wounded and bloody, with Androgeus' young son.
If pity can have room in your angry breast, favour a Briton prince. His father slain, his regiment bereft, his dearest blood drawn by the sword of false Cassibelanus. Having got crown, he then struck at my head, nor can I safely suck my native air. His cause, Androgeus also, and whole regions in open war withstand his violence. Lo, Albion's aged arms spread wide to enchain thee as her patron in a true love not. Wherefore, dread Caesar, let thy mercy strike revengeful fires and be justly styled tamer of tyrants. Then fame blows aloud when valour hopes the weak, pulls down the proud.
Arise, unhappy prince, our deed shall show we grant thy suit. Fortune repents at last. The moon is changed, the globe doth to us turn her shining cheek, and woos us with a smile. But what firm signs of faith, what faithful aid, what furtherance can you give at our arrival?
See here, Androgeus' heir, whose tender age his father ventures, and makes bold with nature to pledge his darling. He and 30 more of noble lineage shall assure our faith. Beside, I pawn my life.
Enough. I'll once more cross the seas, for your more good than mine, that happier sky may bless your towns with peace, your fields with plenty, perpetual spring in gay perfumed attire, surname your isle, the Garden of the West.
Thanks, gracious Caesar, for this kind acceptance. My knee doth kiss the ground, my lip your knee. Pardon, ye gods, if any haunt our land, ye nymphs and lares, ye nymphs and lares, fawns and sylvans wild, that thus I bring a stranger on our coasts, whose foreign shape and language may affright our lazy clowns, and on my country's back once tread victorious steps. Be pleased to view wrongs now redressed, neglected first by you.
Now, Volusene, our glorious state, like the noon-pointed sun when he bestrides the lion's flaming fleece, doth northwest roll his burning brand, whose fire the ocean's blue lake cannot stop, but flies with brighter blaze to thaw the frozen isles. But how proceeds our preparation?
Many strong ships are built, 5 legions armed, ready to launch.
Blow gently, Africus, play on our poops, when Hyperion's sun shall couch in west his foam-bedappled jades, we'll rise to run our course. And we go into Act 4, Scene 2, enter Eulinus.
Though Orpheus' harp, Arian's lute, the chimes whose silver-sounded Theban towers raise, O sweet Urania with her 10-stringed lyre, unto whose stroke the daily rolling spheres dance their just measures, should with tune and tone tickle my air-bred ear, yet can their notes, those fabulous stones, more enter than my soul. Lead, poppy, slumber, stupefy my heart. The bedlam grief acts gambols in my brain. The centaur's wheel, Prometheus' hawk, the vulture of Titius, Sisyphus never mossy stone, the tail of Dened's tub, and Tantalus gaping, are but flea-bitings to my smart. I've slain a kinsman, or a friend I dearly loved. Nay, more, no cause provoking, but in a rash and hellish choler. I thought my love had cannon-proof been against a world of injuries, when see, all is split by a small wind. Cursed be thou, my sword, the instrument of fury, cursed hand, which makes the thrust, but most accursed part, whose ruddy flesh triangular, boiled in flame like an Etnan or Vesuvian salamander, that breast I so could hug, that faithful breast, that snowy white, aye, with dark sanguine stained, and from the wound's red lips his panting heart did seem to say, is this a friendly deed? Oh no, Hiraldas, bears can harmless play, lions can dalliance, sheet up their claws. I only, worst of brutes, kill friends in jest. Why does Androgeus, kindly cruel, keep me from their sentence? Say, law bids me die. If law should not, I'll make that law myself. Shall ensigns be displayed and nations rage about so vile a wretch? Shall foreign hoofs kick up our trembling dust? Must a Caesar redeem my folly with a kingdom's fall? First may I stop black Cerberus' triple jaws. Die, die, thou hast outlived thyself. Thou only, phoenix of females, still dost bind and bound my renegade spirit in these walls of mud. From thee, for thee, 'tis I breathe. How borrow can I his shape, or use mine own? Odious before, now worse than hell-born goblin with brand and chains. To scare thee stove, quaking twixt wrath and fear. Time may favour win, and hope to fail. Then knife or rope begin.
And exit. Act 4, Scene 3. Cassibelanus, Belinus, and Rollano.
Wisdom confirm my sense. What seems their number?
Rising from shore, conjecture might descry 1,000 ships with painted prows to pave the briny fields of Neptune. Their broad sails did Nereus canopy, Titan's taper veil, as nations 29 gainst Troy built up a floating delos of 1,000 ships to plow the liquid glass. No frame of palace, no crafty Sinon, but those wooden horse did Troy destroy. So Troy Navon shall feel her mother's fate. Achilles comes again, and Pergamus again shall sink in dust. They threaten.
And exit. Rollano.
Wonder. What can their arsenal spawn so fast? Last year his barks and galleys were debauched. This spring they sprout again. Be like their navy, like the Linnaean adder, faster grows the more 'tis pruned. They come their last. Lord Deputy lead on the present troops, and levy new. 'Twere best, I think, to let him land, lest view of his huge navy should our commons fright. Retire ourselves to some place of advantage, entice him from his ships, so cut the veins which nourish both, enclosed he cannot escape.
I rather judge we should oppose his footing, using the benefit of our natural mound.
certain 'tis where, when he makes inroad, to furnish all unlikely, to neglect anyone as dangerous as Pelides' heel. Our shores are large and level, then to attend his time and leisure would exhaust the state. Weary our soldiers.
All places may be strengthened more or less, as by last year discretion now may guess. The cliffs themselves are bulwarks strong, the shelves and flats refuse great ships, the coast so open that every stormy blast may rend their cables. Put them from anchor, suffering double war, their men pitched battle and ships naval fight. For charges 'tis no season to dispute, spend something or lose all. Shall he maintain a fleet to enthrall us? We detract small costs when freedom, life, and kingdom lie at stake.
But the assailants are the flower of Italy, backed with 400 Gallic horse, all tried and gallant troops, joined in one martial body to give a fuller stroke. When we defended scattered along and weak resistance make, plainness of ground affording us no shelter.
For what serve sart and engines, mounds and trenches, but to correct the nature of a plain? A few on firm land may keep out 1,000,000 weakened by sea, false footing, billows, rage, and ponderous arms. When as received within, he prospers by our spoil. We feed a vibrant, malcontents and rebels have a refuge. Nor were it safe to venture all at once, when one fort field be lost. Swift for ruin runs, and with rushing throws down all.
We know our strength and his. We'll fight in field some dozen miles from sea. An open theatre gives lustre to our prowess. To keep him out supposes fear, not manhood. No, let him march till he arouse death and stride his future grave.
Your will mine commands, and mine obeys.
And they exit Act 4, Scene 4, Caesar, etc. There's an ensign, there's a drum, there's a trumpet, there's a flag, there are soldiers, there are shipmen, and there is the noise, once again, of landing. The coast is clear. Our honour is the goal. In vain doth Tagus yellow sand obey Rhine's horned front and nimble Tigris running for wager with the wind which skims his top. In vain from Ganges to Hesperian gauge, the bounds marked out by Jove's 2 base-born sons, our echoed name doth sound if we recoil from hence again, not victors. Ye pilots old, who were begot mermaids, whose element is their sea, bred and brought up in cradles rocked with storms and wooden walls, fear not to grapple with the seas, fear not their bulks, braves, veterans, that extended mass is not of iron, but can bleed and die. They were not dipped in Styx, nor are they giants or wild poetic centaurs we assail. Let then this voyage quit our credit lost, and let rage lash on courage. Here's the game. Life may be lost, but sure we'll hold fast fame. They march about and go out. The whole battle is within. So, offstage battle. Cassibelanus and other Britons enter with their soldiers.
Our first attempt doth prosper. They retiring scud to the bosom of their fir tree vaults, and under hatches hide themselves from death. The Cornish band made havoc of their ranks, like Scythian wolves midst of a bleating fold. The jingling lances, rattling chariot wheels, madded their horse. The bowmen merrily shot.
Yet would our tributary kings had succoured. We are decayed, they much in number grown, and surely will make head again.
Oh, fear not. Thou knowest I can even with a whistle hide Kent with glittering arms. More flaming sparkles paint not a freezing night, nor speckled bees buzz not about sweet Hybla's bloomy head. Oh, but what need millions when some thousands serve? Oh, did my brother live, we'd climb the Alps like brave Mamultius' sons, make Romulus's wolf howl horror in their streets, and Rome look pale as when the Punic captain eyed her walls.
And they march out, enter Caesar and his lot. Are ye the men who never fought in vain, who wear Bellona's favours in your scars? Ah, ye are they. What then benumbs our spirits, our empire, from Quirinus, narrow centre, doth circling spread, and finds no brink nor bottom? Titan no later sets nor earlier wakes than he beholds our provinces. Why then, what privilege hath this place? Have we or they the Phrygian powers? Have they Palladian got? No, those gods our capital keeps with joy. These only have undaunted minds from Troy. Ah, what news, good Atrius?
No good news from Atrius. When ominous earth with shade and cloudy vapours as darkness doubled, storms began to sound, the dappled south, rough-footed Aquilo, came rushing like two rams, whose steeled horns dart fiery sparks. The clouds, crushed, breathe out flames. Thunder and lightning daunt all our ears and eyes. The winds and billows strive who loudest roar, the sky distilled in rain. There's room to fill, ambitious waves would climb the starry hill. Our ships are battered all, some 40 sunk.
What devil, Caecus, drags our fortune back? Doth she move retrograde and hoist us up, that we may fall at height? Why doth Camillus each night torment my sleep and cry revenge? I strive against the stream. Enter Androgeus, Mandubratius, and soldiers.
Thus join we standards and resign the keys of Troy Navant with all our warlike forces.
By me the Trinobants submit, and Kenamangrians, Saganatics, Ancolites, Burbrox and Cassians, 6 worthy nations do desire thy guard.
All shall know our love.
The tyrant lies on Isis's flowery banks, when a full choir sing of white surplus swans. The fords on level belly they have fenced with sharp stakes under water.
Nor stakes, lakes, fords, nor sword shall check our progress. Those downy swans shall hear more funeral notes. Their kings departed, Nennius dead, whose lossward tears exhort even from Pomician eyes. Had Britain nursed but such another champion, they might have struck their darts on our barred gates, and Latium trembled with contrary fates. In what now lies their hope?
Great numbers still remain. They laugh at death and boldly trust as Druids preach. Their souls who die in fight shall live in joy. Hence count their dangers benefits, and die with freedom in their mouth and wilful rage. But let soft madness wait on women. Let thy wrath ring through the woods in dusty noise to tell thy coming. No man's built so lofty, but his foundation meets the humble dust, which undermined how high he pierced the clouds so deep he sinks. Hostile and civil foes shake top and root, as winds invade above and mines below, and so will we.
No doubt. This blow shall like an earthquake move the roots and pillars of this sea-clipped isle. A cloud of vultures shall attend our camp, and no more shall the fields bear vert but gulls. The grain ingrained in purple dye shall lose his verdant hue. Bones, marrow, human limbs shall putrefying reek, whose vapoured slime, kindled on high, may breed long-bearded stars to tell more mischief and outbeard Apollo.
Let's waste no time. Let's more unto him flock, as humours glide to guard the wounded member.
Atrius, let our ships be drawn on shore, new rigged and mended. I must needs confess him a darling of the gods, under whose colours stars, winter, sky, and tempests serve in pay, and know both march and skirmish by his drum. And they exeunt Rollano and Eulinus come on now for Act 4, Scene 5. Eulinus is hearkening to what Rollano is saying.
Oh my dear lady, hast thou slain thyself? So fairly pure, so kindly chaste, so Venus and Diana mixed in one. She ate her meat with studs of pearl. She kissed with rubies, and she looked with diamonds bright. Fish seas and foul the air, hunt all the earth for such another bit, and lose your labor.
Why dost thou complain?
Had she not killed herself, no cruel Atropos, no fury could for pity cut her thread. She was the lodestone of all eyes, the whetstone of all brains, the touchstone of all hearts. She was,
Oh, my presaging thoughts in ugly form suggest some tragedy. Speak, yet stay a while. I know thou kill'st with speaking. Be then dumb, let sound never give these notions hairy robes. Yet speak, dispatch me, fears as bad as death. Oh, could no tongue affirm it? Is she dead?
my mistress is.
Whither, ye pleasant gardens where she trod? White lilies droop and blasted daisies wink and weep in pearly dew. Blind vesper morn, hang thy cold tears at every grassy blade. Groan loud, ye woods, and tear your leafy hair. Let wind and hoary frost kill every flower, for she is gone, who made continual May. Let foggy mists envelop sun and stars, for she is gone, who made perpetual day. Confounded nature, stand amazed. Dissolve thy rolling engines and unbrace the seas. Fling all into their first disordered lump for thy chief paragon, the rich masterpiece, the jewel for which thou didst venture all is lost, is lost. Can I live to speak it? How died she?
By a poisoned drought.
Very word poison infects my breath. Durst that presume to pass that coral porch? Were not her lips sufficient antidote? Durst thou descend through those close winding stairs with treacherous intent? Could thy venom seize on her and not sweetened lose his virtue, or rather vicious quality? May toads, dragons, and mandrakes be thy gallipots. This body was a casket for the graces, no cask for poison. With her dies all love. Cupid may break his bow, his arrows burn, then quench his taper in a flood of tears. Is she dead?
Or in a long trance.
She may revive. I'll visit her. Art may prolong her days, whether she will or no.
And they exit Act 4, Scene 6. We have the magical mystery tour that is the chorus closing numbers. Chorus 1, 2, 3, and 4. Take it away.
Lecto rising from the lakes of night, sad empery, with naughty bunch of curled snakes, doth lash fair Brittany.
More ghastly monster did not spring from the Hibernian flood, with which morbidus combating, of foe became his food.
Shall no more shepherds in the shade sit whistling without care? Shall never spear be made a spade, and sword a ploughing share?
Grant heaven at last that music loud of bloody Mars be still, that Britain's virgins in a crowd with hymns the sky may fill.
And I'll take the second song because, I haven't done any singing yet. Nor is learned or is lost the least part of our mournful muse. Jove Juno fought across this Trojan dame for bride did choose, where she did shine, both Gwendoline, the Amazon of her days, and Mercia wise, law to devise. O sound Landora's praise. There doth she shine above, clear as grey Delia's horned bow, bright as the queen of love, to shoot down gentle beams below. Sabrina dare not to compare with her most splendid rays. A ring the sky, a gem her eye, O sound Landora's praise. And thus that closes. So, Act 4, doing very much the turning of the tide here, sees us go number 2 with some turncoats on his side. Initially, the Britons' plan is terrible. Let's lure the Roman army into an open field and fight them in open combat, because that's a great plan. But actually, they hold their own. Initially, they're doing quite well. There's some... and so there's a sense of, no, we're going to have another go, and really, really take them down now. Intermixed with the ongoing saga of Eulinus, who... I've just got WTF written in my script. That's basically what I've just got here. He's just going, I'm really sad now. I've killed someone, and how am I going to sleep with this person under false pretenses now? And now she's killed herself as well, and so he's really sad. Will this subplot never die?
I cannot shake the feeling that it's a piss take, really, because he does this terrible sort of sonnety thing, where he says her teeth are like pearls and her lips are like whatever it was, rubies or something, and all of the rest of that, and then he just kind of extends this metaphor. She's so sweet, how could poison live? And all of that. And then right at the end, Rollano says, oh, maybe she's in a long trance. He goes, oh, right, she may revive then. It seems to me so awful that it's really difficult to take seriously. Seeing as the rest of the play, bits of it seem quite good.
Yeah, it's really a downer on the shape of the play overall. I think Act 4 is struggling slightly because, of course, it's effectively a repetitious action. Yes, there is additional dissension, and so there is a slight sense of perhaps treading water. But this really takes the energy out and is annoying me for lots of other good reasons. Rachael?
Now, to what Stephen said, you know how there's cliches in writing now? Perhaps it's like that they're naming all these cliches to all these I don't know, straightforward or easy to get imagery for something that, I don't know, maybe it's like that idea of you get a bad piece of writing or somebody who just hasn't read a lot and they go for those cliches, and that's the joke.
I mean, it feels like a student as a piece of work. It has to be said, at those moments. And every so often you stumble across a line that really sort of clangs. Sometimes just, I mean, we just have, did Troy destroy? I mean, man. Wow, there's some cojones to put that line.
There was somebody very late, very drunk in one of the taverns, I think, for that line.
Yeah,
I
respect. I mean, I have to say respect for that kind of gag. But yeah,
I have to say I'm just tired of so many names. I mean, it just sounds like, as I said, I can't really say that. I think I said this in the earlier. It just feels like somebody's swallowed a list of Latin names and gone, there you go. Get as many in as we can.
Yeah.
And you can be rude about them as much as you like. You can do as many pronunciations as you want, but I don't care. We've got to get them all in.
It feels like an in-joke to me. It's kind of like they've all had to sit through these boring lectures about all these ancient tribes or something, and so they're packing them all in. There's a big cheer after every one or something like that, because there's no reason for them otherwise, is there?
I don't know. I think it's more earnestness. I mean, there's something about this that speaks to me of just over earnestness, which can very easily trip into the comic of just going, this is the stuff, this is what you put in, this is the history. I mean, it's like those people who complain about television dramatizations of history, going, well, that didn't happen, and you didn't mention such and such, and you didn't have why wasn't such and such at court? This is the answer. You mention everybody.
Dear sir, I noticed in your recent student production you failed to recognise the crucial role of the Trinobantic tribe. I hope this will be rectified. Yours sincerely, etc.
By me, the Trinobants submit, and yeah, it's after the letter came in. Yeah, just mention all six, will you?
I mean, it's trying to give. I mean, because everybody knows their Roman stuff backwards. Perhaps it's trying to give an equal dignity and an equal kind of historical reality to something which is far more shadowy. So it's kind of, we can just allude to some of this Caesar stuff because we kind of all know it, but actually it's all real. It all happened, before we got invaded by these, horrible gits. There was a valid and flourishing culture here with many tribes.
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, I still, Caesar really does come across. There's something interesting going on with Caesar, but maybe another time. Eric,
I have a question. I know the subplot is kind of meh, but why on earth did she kill herself, or is it just to get away from him?
No, remember, she thinks the person that she is sleeping with is dead.
Okay, yeah.
So, her love of her life has died. I mean, he wasn't a great bloke anyway because of setting up the whole thing. Yeah, anyway, I just don't want to talk about the subplot anymore. I just want to move on to the stuff I am enjoying. Act 5, let's dive into it. Act 5, Scene 1. It's Caesar and his rogue captain Androgeus and Mandubratius, etc. And soldiers enter war. What is it good for? Thus gain we ground, yet still our foes will fight, whether they win or lose. With bloody drops our path is printed. Thames his maiden cheeks blush with vermilion. Nations crave our league on every side, yet still Cassibelanus braves us, nor will submit.
Not far hence Verulam lies his chiefest fort, by nature guarded round with woods and fens, by art enclosed with a ditch and rampier. From hence we must dislodge the boar.
There are but two ways to assail this town, both which I know. Your parted army must break through both at once, and so distract his doubtful rescues.
Enter Volusene and Hulacus, prisoner.
Your slave, I dare meet my death, lead my leader.
You'll repent anon.
If I do ill, but not for suffering ill.
Your stoical apathy will relent, I know. This priest I caught within a shady grove, devoutly kneeling at a broad oak's foot. Now he awaits your dome.
What god adore you?
Him whom all should serve.
What's the moon?
Night's sun,
What's night?
a foil to glorify the day.
What most compendious way to happiness?
To die in a good cause.
What is a man?
A hermaphrodite of soul and body.
How differ they in nature?
The body hath in weight, the soul in length.
One question more. What dangers shall I pass?
Many, by land and sea, are steps to glory. Throw Palatine on Esquiline, on both heap Aventine, to raise one pyramid for a chair of estate, where thy advanced head, amongst those heroes pictured in the stars, Orion, Perseus, Hercules, may consult with Jove himself, but shun the Senate house. March round about the Caspian Sea, search out among cedars tall the Arabian phoenix nests, run counter to old Nile till thou discover his sacred head wrapped up in cloudy mountains, and rather than work fail, turn Hellespont out of his channel, dig that isthmus down which ties great Afric, shun the Senate house. Saturn, so thou shalt not be Tarquin. A Brutus strong repays in fine the brutish wrong to Brutus none.
We'll talk at leisure more. And they exit. Act 5, Scene 2, we go back to the Britons, Cassibelanus, Belinus, etc. And at the very end of the scene, there's an all line hidden away. So keep an eye out for that all.
No vampires keep him back. He presses forward through every stamp he treads, seems to conjure the fates from their infernal centre. None but he durst be so bold.
Yes, when Britain's lead in Mandubratius, insulting with naked sword, calls on the lagging soldiers, when fierce Androgeus with revolted nations ushers his army. No way how so quick to ruin a kingdom just by homebred strife. Thus while we single fight, we perish all.
Aye, those traitorous caitiffs, rebel slaves, oh may their country's heavy curse them sink below the ninefold brazen gates of hell. And Princock proud, 'twas escaping policy I should have slain the whelps for their good sire. Let Britain's climacterial year now run the series break of 70 kings. Nay, let one urn conclude our ashes and the world's. Befall what will, in midst of horror's noise and crackling flames, when all is lost, will die with weapons in our hands and victory scorn. There's none that dies so poor as they are born. Faithful Belinus, let a post command the Kentish kings to set upon his fleet whilst we here bait. 4,000 charioteers, such as did glide upon the Phrygian plains, and wheeling double service do perform, both horseman's speed and footman's stable strength, still do remain. With these and flocking voluntaries will give him once more battle. Let the captains enter and hear my charge.
Enter captains, he stands on a throne.
Subjects and fellow soldiers, we must now try for ancient freedom or perpetual bondage. There is no third choice. The enraged foe, with cruel pride, proud avarice, have spoiled from east to west, hunting for blood and gain. Your wives and daughters ravished, ransacked towns, great bellies ripped with lances, sprawling babes, the spouse about her husband's neck, run through by the same spear. Think on these objects, then choose them for your lords, who spoil and burn whole countries and call desolation peace. Yield, that he ennobled by our spoils, may climb the Capitol with triumphant car. You led, fast fettered through the staring streets, for city dames to mock your habit strange, and fill their arras hangings with your story. No! Brennus ghost forbid, who this night stood before my eyes and grimly furious spake. Shall Britain stoop to Roman rods and hatchets and servile tribute? Will you so defame your ancestors and your successors wrong, heirs but of slavery? Oh, this day make good the glory of so many ages past. I see you are incensed and wish to use your weapons, not your ears.
To arms!
arms,
To
to
arms! To arms! We'll fight and die!
Fight and die.
And they exit. And talking about dying, Act 5, Scene 3. Eulinus in a nightcap, unbraced. Vio Poinado plays and sings to the viol.
Show the silver-feathered swan, both by death and colour won, loves to sing before she die, leaving life so willingly. But how could I sing a note when dead hoarseness stops my throat? Or how can I play a stroke when my heartstrings are all broke? Come, guilty night, and with black velvet wings mantle me round. Let melancholic thoughts hang all my brain with blacks, this darksome grove my gallery. So, all things suit my mind. Such funeral colours please a gasping heart. I died with thee, Landora, once. Now only some struggling spirits are behind, to be laid out with most thrift on thy memory. Where shall I first begin my last complaint, which must be measured by my glass of life? At thee, Hiraldas, slain in furious mood, by whose help only I enjoy my love. Or thee, Landora, dying for his sake, and in thy death, including mine, or at my country's wreck, whose surface torn doth for my vengeance importune the pole, or of myself, there is sorrow's spring. Shall I go wandering, lurk in woods unknown, a banished hermit, and sigh out my griefs, teaching the pretty birds to sing, my dear Landora, there to feed on acorns, drink the clear fountain, and consume with weeping were but an easy life, easy death. My violent passion must have sudden vent. Refined soul, whose odoriferous light the damned hag stare at, and whining elves, thinking it heaven in hell, behold my pangs, pity my dying groans, and be more soft. May our shadows mingle, then shall I envy no more those citizens above, the Ambrosian junkets of the Olympian hall, and all that gorgeous roof. But cowards talk.
And draws his poniard.
Come, thou last refuge of a wearisome life. Passport to the Elysian land, a key to unlock my grieved inmate. Lo, I come.
Unbuttons.
This river from my eyes, this stream from my poor breast, beg favour
thy ghost.
And stabs.
Oh, let this lukewarm blood thy rigours steep, and mollify thy adamantine heart. Leander-like I swim to thee through blood. Be thy bright eyes my Pharos, and conduct me through the dull night of gloomy Erebus. Flow, oh, ye lively drops, and from my veins run winding to the ocean of my bliss. Tell her, my love, and if she still shall doubt, swear that ye came directly from my heart. I stay too long. Sweet lady, give me welcome, though I shall pass 12 monsters as the sun, or 12 Herculean labours on a row. Yet one kind look makes all my labours sweet. Thou fairy queen of the Tartarian court, to whom Proserpine may the apple give, worthier than she to warm old Pluto's bed, see thy poor vassal weltering in his gore. I faint, I faint, I die a martyr as I live thy priest. Great goddess, be propitious, sweet Landora.
Falls and dies. Act 5, Scene 4. The 4 kings of Kent march over the stage. A drum struck up within. Atrius comes within with Cingetorix's prisoner, Rollano, running. Volusenus meets him. And I'll be reading Volusene for this scene.
What shall I do? How shall I escape?
I scorn to take advantage. Rise and fight.
I had rather be killed. Quickly, quickly.
Then die as thou desirest, and thrusts at him.
Oh, let me wink first. I shall never endure it. Oh, I am peppered and salted.
Exit Volusenus, and Rollano crawls away. Cassibelanus and Belinus enter.
Oh dear. Oh, that base fortune should great spirits damp, and fawn on muddy slaves. That envious fate should ripen villainy with Syrian dew, and blast sweet virtue with the Syrian flame. Catalogue of mischiefs do concur. Our Britain, Hector, Nennius dead. Our kings, angry to be refused, still at home. And then with these traitors, with their train augment his huge and expert army. Nothing stops him. Rivers nor rampiers, woods nor dangerous bogs, on this side Thames his dismal ensign shine. Last Kent's unhappy rulers are at sea or thrown, and our men almost spent. Then general in desperate pride and valor's scornful rage, let us run headlong through their armed tents, and make their camp a shambles, so to raise our lofty tombs upon their slaughtered heaps.
Nay, rather let us first parley for peace.
Ye country gods and nymphs who Albion love, old Father Neptune, all ye powers divine, witness my loyal care. If human strength, courage, and policy could a kingdom save, we did our best. But discord, child of hell, numbers of trained men, and each captain picked out of a province, make us bow or break. In vain we strive when deities do frown, when destiny's push, Atlas himself comes down.
And enter Comius.
No mediator is so fit as Comius, and here's the man.
Do not the dangers which environ you call for a good conclusion, which I wish as friend to both sides?
No, Comius, there is more behind than Caesar have overrun. Our charioteers still drive, our harnesses still is worn. The woods and lakes will tire this dainty soldiers, then set fire on towns and sacrifice ourselves, our wives, our goods and cattle in one public flame, that wind may blow our ashes in his face.
So shall dead elements curse your causeless fury. Rather conclude some friendly peace.
Thus far we hear you. If with honoured terms and royal looks he will accept our faith, we will obey, but never serve.
I'll undertake as much. And exit. Act 5, Scene 5. Androgeus and Tenantius enter.
Thus civil war by me in fact just broils to face this goodly land. I am revenged. The cause, Eulinus, dead, my anger dies. He is our uncle, and in danger's mouth both reclaim relenting pity. Whom peace made a rampant lion, war hath made a lamb. Caesar shall not proceed for private ends to captivate our isle, whose clamorous curse doth knock, I know, at heaven's star-nailed gates. For that Jove's bird, imped with our plumes, o'erflew the ocean's wall to seek her prey in Britain.
Aye, we have made a rod for our own backs. Fetters of gold are fetters. No gap worse to let destruction in by than to call a foreign aid. Having seen our weakness and tasted once the fastness of our land, it's not so easily thrust out as admitted. Such medicine is worse than the malady, fretting the bowels of our kingdom.
I know their hatred just, and here resign all my birthright to thee, my second self. I must forsake my country's sight, and seek new fortunes with this emperor, in hope to be raised up by his now rising wheel.
Do not do so, dear brother. So to part were to divide one individual soul. Don't think me so ambitious. I can live a private life and see a regal crown with no more envy than I see the sun glitter above me. Let not Lud's two sons be parted by a sea. I hold your presence at higher price than a whole kingdom's pomp. Keep then your right. Like those admired twins, let us rejoice, mourn, live, and die together.
You shall a scepter gain.
And lose a brother.
Bear you the sovereign power of this land.
Body politic must on two legs stand.
I'll
bear a part so to a diminished envy.
I must away and shun the people's eye.
If to yourself unkind, be kind to me. For my sake, stay at home. Why will you fly? Think you a step-dane's soil gives sweeter sap?
Aye, for trees transplanted do more goodly grow.
I count men but stocks when they do so.
I am resolved, all troubles brought sleep, to leave you with a parting kiss.
And by that kiss, may I transfuse my soul, or quite expire. Brothers have often for a kingdom fought, we strive to lose it. 'Tis holy strife. But here I vow, if e'er that sacred lace shall gird my temples, Rome must keep her bounds, or fish for tribute in the dreadful deep.
They exit. Act 5, Scene 6. Caesar and Mandubratius. And Androgeus as well. And so they're entering to the scene. So it's additional. It's not. There was no exit. I was wrong. So Caesar and Mandubratius enter.
Let gracious favour smooth the war's rugged brow. Cassibelanus will compound. All rage must end. We choose you, umpire, for a friendly close.
It is my glory to end all with peace, and for that cause I, Comius, sent in haste for to conduct him hither.
This trump gives warning of the king's approach.
And we can assume here the king, Cassibelanus, enters with the misplaced scene appellation there. Catching Greg unawares.
Yes.
I apologise, that's a formatting error.
Miss a line. Fate and no fault of mine makes me appear to yield as far as honour gives me leave.
Hail, Glorious prince, disdain not this ingrafting into Rome's empire, whose command encloses the whole Levant, and whose large shadow hides the triple-bounded earth and bellowing seas.
We shall observe your will, so you impose a league, no yoke.
And we shake hands. Thus we determine. That crown still shall stand, reign as the total monarch of this isle, till death unkings you. 'Twere Androgeus best, you in our train kept honourable place, and let Tenantius wear the royal wreath. You must forgive the towns which did revolt, nor seek revenge on Trinobants, but let young Mandubratius possess his father's princedom.
Be all wrongs drenched in lethe.
Pardon my rash attempts.
Count me your loyal friend.
And Cassibelanus embraces Androgeus and Mandubratius. In sign of league you shall us pledges give, and yearly pay 3,000 pound of silver unto our treasury. So let these decrees be straight proclaimed through Troynovant, whose tower shall be more fairly built at my charge, as a lasting monument of our arrival.
All shall be done, renowned prince, whose worth, unparalleled both as friend and foe, we do admire. Accept this surcoat starified with pearls and diamonds, such as our own shores breed.
And you receive this massy cup of gold, love's earnest and memorial of this day. By this suppose our senate calls you friend. And they sit together.
Now time, best oracle of oracles, father of truth, the true sense doth suggest of Dian's answer. The lion and the eagle do design, the Britain and the Roman states, whose arms were painted with those animals, both fierce, weary at last, conclude the semicircles, first letters of the leaders' names, we see are joined in true love's endless figure. Both come of Trojan race, both nobly bold, both matchless captains on one throne behold.
Now the Tarpeian rock o'erlooks the world, her empire bounded only by the ocean, and boundless fame beats on the starry pole. So Danae, crawling from a mountain side, wider and deeper grows, and like a serpent, or pyramid reversed, improves his bigness as well as length, till, viewing countries large, and fed with 60 rivers, his wide mouth, the Euxine sea-nymph gapes, and fear doth stir, whether he will disgorge or swallow her.
Since the great guide of all, Olympus's king will have the Romans his viceroys on earth. Since the red fatal eyes of crow-black night fling their malignant influence on our state. Since Britain must submit, it was her fame, none but a Julius Caesar could her tame.
And while trumpets sound, Androgeus and Tenantius, embracing, take leave, all depart, and we go to the potluck that is the chorus. First song, please.
Come, fellow bards, and sing with cheer, since dreadful alarums we shall no more hear. Come, lovely peace, our saint divine, olive and laurel do love for to twine. The graces and muses and nymphs in a round, let voice beat the air and feet beat the ground. So hell's black image chased away, Eos doth dandle the Goldilocks day. So Bruma banished all forlorn, Cupid and Flora the spring do adorn, and so the grim fury of Mars laid in grave, a merrier ending doth friendly peace crave.
And song number 2, please.
The sky is glad that stars above do give a brighter splendor. The stars unfold their flaming gold to make the ground more tender. The ground doth send a fragrant smell. That air may be the sweeter, the air doth charm the swelling seas with pretty chirping meter. The sea with rivers water doth feed plants and flowers dainty. The planets do yield their fruitful seed, that beasts may live in plenty. The beast doth give both food and cloth, that men high Jove may honor. And so the world runs merrily round when peace doth smile upon her. Oh then, oh then, this jubilee lasts forever. That far in spite of civil fight, our quiet trouble never.
They exit, but it's not over yet because we have an epilogue. Mercury with the ghosts of Camillus and Brennus.
How bravely Caesar passed the angry main.
How bravely was he back-repulsed again?
How did he wield his sword in Nennius' face?
How did he lose his sword and fly apace?
How did again his army fill your coast?
Aye, when our princes did conduct his host.
How did they pierce through Isis's dangerous flood?
Yeah, but made her swell and bankrupt with their blood.
Mirror of captains, Julius still had won.
We may justly brag, 2 for 1.
Confess our valorous race have now repaid the alien massacre and our city's flame. See how they yield and yearly tribute pay.
No, proud dictator, both do weary stand on equal terms. Both wish a peaceful league. They shall oppress. No, generous spirits will break this compact like a spider's web.
Jove's will is finished, and though Juno frown that no more Trojan blood shall dye the stage, the world's 4th empire Britain doth embrace. The thunder-bearer with a Janus look at once views ruddy morn and cloudy west. Her wings displayed o'er this terrestrial egg will shortly hatch an universal peace. For Jove intends a favour to the world. It now remains that you 2 martial wights cease from your braving one another's worth. You must be friends at last. The close is sweet, when after tumults hearts and hands do meet. So we've got to the end, and yeah, a sort of awkward peace is semi-negotiated. So there is still skirmishing, and it's you get a sense of Caesar's just getting really teed off, of just going, God, they just don't give up, do they? You know, it doesn't matter whether they win or lose; they just keep going. I mean, it's just this isn't proper. And this sense, it's slightly not clear how it's working, of, you know, this negotiated peace that's sort of coming together, and the awkwardness of who's going to be in charge afterwards, and that's going on here. And then, of course, we have Eulinus kills himself in the middle, which was quite cheering. So, thoughts in the room, Greg?
This may be just me, but I feel like we're heading into part 2. There isn't one, I realise, but it just feels like there should be a sequel. Don't know how, don't know where, but it's just weird. I just feel like there's, as you say, there's so much unsaid.
I think in performance and with a bit of welly, it's fine. But it is this fundamental problem. What do you do when the story basically does the same thing twice? So you have Caesar arrives and leaves again. Caesar arrives and there's less battle emphasis in with this, and it's more that everything's a bit compromised. So there's quite a lot that you can play with these scenes, I think. Stephen.
I take Greg's point, though. I mean, if the point of this is to kind of big up the natives of the island, then I don't know very much about this history, but the next thing that springs to mind is Boudica. So, I mean, you get this with history, don't you? There is always this problem that the play has to take a chunk out of it. But those last lines of Brennus going, it's basically saying, well, if there is oppression, then watch out for trouble. That kind of does feel a little bit like the studio is thinking half an eye on the box office and maybe a sequel.
Well, I think it's with these ghosts. It's almost like if you wrong us, then the ghost of Brennus will rise again and will come back, and that could be almost an ongoing sequence. Brennus is the match profile of future wars. Yeah, other thoughts, please. Someone, I'm vamping here. Rachael.
I know the guys are. I asked in the chat who they were, and people said they were the ghosts from, like the prologue. But are they meant to be historical figures, or, like not muses? Oh, who are they as historical figures, or are they made up historical figures?
Greg might be clearer on this one. They're not that well known.
No, Camillus, sorry. He's very, very early Republic from what I remember. So basically, Caesar marks the end of the Roman Republic. His death is the ultimate death throw for the whole thing. Camillus falls, off the top of my head, about 300 years after, in inverted commas, Romulus and Remus, to the founding of Rome. But don't ask me what he did.
Yeah, and Brennus, I think, does he go back to Brutus? I think so. The founding of the kingdom. So these are founding figures. They're warriors. So that when Britain and Rome come to fight in this play, they're the spirits that arise to sort of talk the way, to do the match profile, and also turn up, because they turn up in a scene. They turn up to both of Caesar and Cassibelanus as well, to say, get on with it, guys. What are you up to, Eric?
I just like I think it was in yesterday's bit where one way of sort of, I can't remember who mentioned it to Caesar, but it's like they kind of went, yeah, the weather is lovely. It's like the meadows are green. There's always sunshine, and then they get there and it's raining cats and dogs. I just love that bit, and no, it's just kind of this whole. Yeah, I feel like Brennus and Camillus are probably like sort of, football commentators or something who never agree, like the sort of old men in the Muppets kind of thing.
Yes, because they're ultimate, and Mercury has to sort of bang their heads together by going, no, there's peace now. You can be friends, because there's peace. But the thing is that just feels like that could be such a massive sort of historical irony situation, because we know there isn't peace. We know basically everything returns to a status quo almost immediately, because Julius Caesar goes back home and then gets stabbed. And it takes until Claudius for Rome to return, and then more war happens, and then we get sparking off with Boudica later on, and it's messy, and I think there's something messy about that final act, which is sort of talking to that. Actually, I think it's in there. I don't think it's very clear, certainly from a first read, but I think it is messy. Rachael, you were waving. No? Yes?
No, yeah, I was, but my question is when this was written, what was going on at the time? But I don't know. I removed that question from my own brain because I just think that there's so much, like Stephen was saying before, so many like in jokes or like little things going on that I don't think that has. I don't know if it has as much to do with like not history of what was contemporary to them at the time. You know, I don't know. It's very never.
Yeah, I mean, one of the problems is we don't really know precisely when it was written. You know, we've got a sort of end point, and we've got probably a little bit before that, but it's feeding off an awful lot of teaching and stuff that people are reading, and you know, we've mentioned kid. There seems to be quite a lot of kid in there. There's, you know, the stuff they might be learning, and the context of its performance. You know, this is student theatre. Student drama writ large, and you know, the fact that it survives this long, and actually feels performable. I have to say, I'm looking at this going, you know, with some cuts, smaller and larger cuts. I don't see this as actually being this feels quite doable, which is nice because it's a history play, and I like to fit it in with all the other history plays. So, but yeah, it's by no means perfect, but it's got a lot of good material in there that I really quite enjoyed. Quite happy with that. Stephen, are you waving?
Well, I'm thinking, but I mean, it's a sort of action movie, isn't it? But then the way that it does rhetoric is weird. You know, there's very little. It seemed to me anyway. Maybe I'm forgetting, but there's very little attention given to the sort of psychological states of anybody. Even the author, you know, Caesar. I mean, he gets a bit, doesn't he? But if you think, I was thinking about something like Gorboduc, which is full of kind of awful rhetoric, awesome rhetoric, as it were. But it does actually take you into the kind of psychology of the relationships underlying this dreadful schism. And this play seems completely uninterested in that, and far too interested in this Eulinus character who doesn't fit at all. And yet if you admit him as comic relief, and then the whole thing, I don't know, the whole thing kind of wobbles.
Yeah, I just, he's gone. I don't normally say at this stage that anything's gone, but this, I'm just going, he's gone.
And the question is then, what's he doing there? Because it's you know, I mean, I don't know. It's got to be a joke.
Is he? No, I really go the other way. I think they're in deadly earnest. I think it's just a story they wanted to put in. I don't think it's very tidy. It's a bit of a placeholder occasionally to break up scenes. There are jokes in there, I think, but I don't know. It felt more earnest to me. I don't know if that makes it worse. Probably does. Rachael.
I interpret him as a clown person too. But I think you also have like Rollano in there, who seems slightly more integrated to the action story, who seems to be like also a clown.
Yeah.
That isn't as extreme.
He feels like he's definitely a clown because he's there to break up the action scenes with, you know, sort of cowardice. Yeah, Rachael.
So I mean, like, if you wanted to cut the, you know, one subplot, you wouldn't be without a clown. You know, if you wanted to keep a clown because he's there. Also, yeah, I do think Eulinus or something is supposed to be funny, but I mean, he's not by like, you know, our standards, maybe by their standards, but not by our standards.
Well, it's the thing is, he's sort of pathetic and things, but he does kill himself. I mean, it's very difficult to say that you're supposed to be sitting there howling, you know, with that. I mean, we have got the odd occasion where they kill the clown, but the clown is usually for a very different purpose. And Eric.
I was going to say that maybe it's kind of like I think it was Misfortunes of Arthur, where they had like the whole thing about like the sort of prologue and epilogue being written separately because the actor just went off on one. Maybe that's what's happening with Eulinus, because it seems so out of the play that it was kind of just like as if it was inserted afterwards, kind of thing.
Yeah, and I don't know anything about its textual history at all. That's we're now at the stage where actually we can actually do some look at it and find out what the hell's going on. So there might be. We know that a lot of these plays do have multiple authors, from an earlier period. So it's not unreasonable. It's completely reasonable, but it seems consistent in its inconsistencies in my mind. But I think Stephen's point about the psychology, there's something very odd going about the way that some of these scenes are put together. There is some work to be done here to tie some of these threads. We do need to close fairly swiftly, but Eric.
Yeah, also it's interesting how Cassibelanus is basically trusted with being general of the nation kind of thing, but also just completely ignores the advice of the person he's asking advice from. Which seems like a very... I guess it also makes sense in terms of like most people who are in positions of power usually will ask for advice just to be able to have a soundboard for their own ideas rather than like actually listen to the other person. I don't know.
Any more before I close the session? It's time to say goodbye for now to the True Trojans. Will the True Trojans please stand up, as it were? All that remains is to thank all these wonderful readers for all their wonderful reading. Thank you very much, everyone, and goodbye. What most compendious way to happiness?